My name is Victor from Unclenched. Let's see if we can answer a question as old as time. Well, as old as last week anyway, when Spider-Man 2 came out. What is better, the Arkham Trilogy or the Marvel Spider-Man Trilogy? First off, let's start by saying that I am an absolute moron for even considering making this video. Regardless of my opinions, I will be wrong either way. Let me also clarify that I am a big fan of both trilogies, and I highly recommend them to anyone watching. I will also not be including Arkham Origins, even though it's a fine game. Many, including myself, do not consider it a part of the Arkham Trilogy. Now, why compare these games to each other at all? Well, I personally wasn't, but I have seen a common trend on all Spider-Man 2 content lately, and that is that it doesn't even compare to the Arkham games. The fact that the last Batman game came out over 8 years ago and is even being compared to a game that was just released is in itself a huge point towards the Arkham series. Well, let's just make this simple and quick, shall we? Let's go to everyone's most trustworthy source of reviews, Metacritic, and have a look at the review scores. That will immediately solve this debate. Well, there you have it. The 3 Batman Arkham games average a 91 out of 100, whereas the Marvel Spider-Man games average an 87.3. But an argument can be made that gamers and reviewers are far more critical now than they were back in 2009 when Arkham Asylum was released. In fact, an example on this is that on Metacritic, Arkham Asylum got a 92 in 2009 and Arkham City got a 94 in 2011. Fast forward 5 years to 2016, yes, my math is precise there, I double checked it, and the re-release of those 2 games in the Batman Return to Arkham, that game got a 73. A full drop of 20 points due to some frame rate issues. To further prove my point that gamers are far more critical now is that people are in an uproar with how short the main story is in Spider-Man 2. Well, it might surprise you that the average completion time in Spider-Man 1 and 2 is longer than in Asylum and City. It's only the Miles Morales Spider-Man that brings down the average story time to 13.1 hours compared to Arkham's 13.6 hours on average. That's a 30-minute difference, yet is one of the main negatives used against the Spider-Man trilogy. A lot of the Arkham games are padded with Riddler trophies, and only 11% of gamers collected them all in the Arkham Asylum, and that game has a small percentage of those collectibles compared to the next 2. Once again, none of these facts tell us which game series is better. In fact, it probably makes it harder to decide. Now, the quality of the story is always a preference. I would have said I enjoy the Arkham games more because of their dark, gritty nature, but Spider-Man 2 also showed us that even Spider-Man can have villains that can haunt our dreams. Batman himself is and has always been a dark, non-humor based character, and Peter Parker is the polar opposite with his quick wit, never taking anything too serious attitude. Which one would you prefer to sit down with and play video games with? The Arkham games have one of the most iconic villains of all time, Joker, voiced by the GOAT himself, Mark Hamill. Hello, bats! That was me. I think that was okay. I'll probably leave that in the video. The Spider-Man games do a fantastic job of introducing villains and companions that we love, but nothing will ever beat the ensemble that the Arkham Trilogy presents. Even if a certain villain is never seen, their presence is always felt with a series of Easter eggs that are so expertly implemented in each of the games that even the Spider-Man Trilogy could never compete. Amazing set pieces and big, huge cinematic events are super common and create core memories in Spider-Man games. Giant explosions and buildings collapse around you, and the Uncharted series showed us that back in 2009 it was possible to create these types of moments, and it is something that is lacking in the Arkham Trilogy. Everyone has their own opinion about which story is better, but in my humble opinion, the Arkham games as a whole tell a better story. Each game, the threat is increasing ever larger. Spider-Man does have far better character progression, and I will admit that Spider-Man 2 for me took storytelling to a whole new level. Something we can all agree on is that the Arkham games were leaps and bounds ahead of their time. Without them, the Spider-Man trilogy may not even exist, and if they did, we know that they would not be anywhere near as good as they are. It is clear from the get-go how much inspiration Insomniac have taken from the Batman games, and without that blueprint, they would have struggled to release a final product of the same quality as they have. Other than the gritty, dark storytelling, Batman Arkham Asylum was best known for its brutal combat system. The fighting is super tight and precise and is only limited by player capabilities. The more you play, the better you get and the larger the combo you can pull off. Parry, dodge, gadget, finish a move, and almost kill each enemy. For the time, it was mind-boggling how near perfect it was. It almost makes sense that the Spider-Man games almost copy and paste it 100%. Sure, it's heaps of fun being able to zip around from enemy to enemy as Spider-Man, but the way we felt and we still feel when playing as Batman is almost unbeatable. I would say that there are more combat options in Spider-Man, but nothing will ever beat the precision of the Arkham series. Stealth again has almost been copied and pasted from Batman to Spider-Man. Find a vantage point and string your opponents up. Move from area to area and repeat until the room is clear. Get caught and all hell breaks loose. Spider-Man, however, could only stealth from the same level and above, whereas Batman, yes, Batman, could stealth below the enemy and break through walls to incapacitate his foes. Added difficulty when knocking down some enemies wearing collars that made evil laughing sounds that'll alert his friends around him of your presence. Stealth overall was far more complete, diverse, and difficult in the Arkham series, and almost pointless in Spider-Man 2. Where the Spider-Man games really shine is in traversal. Swinging and gliding around New York is almost a game in itself. Sure, you could glide and use the bat grapple, but it doesn't have the same freedom and sense of enjoyment as it does when zipping around as Peter or Miles. They tried to give the Batmobile some love in Arkham Knight, and it was fun to drive, but only for a short while, whereas I will never get tired of slingshotting my way around from point A to point B in Spider-Man 2. Other than XP and achievements, there really felt no reason to explore Gotham, at least in my opinion. But because Spider-Man 2 has a horde of awesome costumes, it gives players a reason to complete the side content. New York is vast and lively, whereas Gotham is void of all civilian life other than hostages. Sure, the citizens of Gotham are in hiding or have fled completely, but it wouldn't have killed the developers to maybe add a few civilians in the back alleys or running around the streets trying to hide. Where Spider-Man lacks is in level design, compared to the Arkham series anyway. In Spider-Man, you go from building to never return. In Batman, you unlock new gadgets that let you backtrack to previous locations to unlock further rooms or side content. Backtracking isn't something everyone enjoys, but it is something that is a core element in a lot of games. It's hard not to be biased. I am a comic book collector and reader, and Spider-Man is my favourite hero of all time. But I think we can answer this argument with one question. If a Batman Arkham game was to be developed with the technology they have today, would it be better than the Marvel Spider-Man games? I think the answer is yes. Gotham Knights aside though, because that was awful. I'm just putting that in now because I just realised that was maybe pretty much new technology, but they still managed to screw that up royally. I'm going to keep this in this video, but you know, just that's frustrating. At the end of the day, everyone has their own opinion. In order to write a script for this video, I wrote down a series of dot points, and they heavily leaned in favour of Spider-Man. But as I began to reminisce about how I felt playing the Arkham games for the first time, that began to change. The truth is that Spider-Man would not be as good as it is if it were not for the amazing work that Rocksteady did on the Arkham series. And the fact that those games still hold up today in itself is a huge accomplishment. If you couldn't figure out which one I prefer, I think it's the Arkham series. Just by a nose though. I love both games, but I just think the Arkham series is just more of a classic. That's just my opinion, don't hate me please. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing. We have a onslaught of new reviews coming throughout the rest of the year, and I would appreciate any love you can steer my way. Thank you again. Until next time, see ya.